Hey, what's going on, guys? This is the Does It Even Matter podcast with your host T and my esteemed colleague, as always, Ryan.
How you guys doing?
We got a new interesting idea right here called phone blocks. If you guys haven't heard of this, it's actually a customized cell phone. You completely can customize this thing. It's kind of like building blocks. You can put in and interchange anything you want. So, for instance, you might be a professional photographer and you don't need a camera on your phone. So, you can switch that out with a bigger battery or a better processor. I really like this idea because a lot of the phones have a lot of features that you might not want, and there's no reason to have to pay for them. So with this design, you can actually put in whatever you want. It's custom tailored 100% to you. Now, if something breaks on your phone, you could actually replace it, just the part that breaks. So a lot of times I see some of my friends, they drop their cell phone, screen gets cracked. It's annoying. You have to replace the whole phone. So now you don't have to do that anymore with this phone blocks idea.
Yeah, it's definitely something nice for the people that like to tinker with stuff, mod and tweak it, and it'll be great for me because I'll spend less money instead of jumping from like the Note 2 then to the Note 3 or back to something like the Nexus 4, Nexus 5 type of thing because I like to switch it up with my phones. I get bored with them fast, and just being able to throw a better camera in it, maybe get something from Canon, Sony, Nikon, any of the higher end stuff, and just be able to change up bigger battery, faster processor whenever the stuff's available. It'll be really nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything that custom tailors something for the consumer, they're definitely a win-win for them. Not to mention the fact that you don't have to replace the entire phone, so also great for the environment. Now, Google was the one that actually picked this idea up by somebody who was creating it. Google actually owns Motorola. It's part of their project Aura. That's ARA. And they're working in conjunction with Phone Blocks to help make this a reality. So if you haven't seen it by now, check it out. It's a really cool idea.
It's
Uh,
definitely going to be very interesting to see where it goes.
yeah, I'm actually rooting for it. I like it. Now, if you haven't seen, OLED TVs are the new thing. They're going to be the new standard in ultra high definition televisions. They have features such as 4mm size screens. There's no need for a backlighting, so it's a very, very thin screen. They have blackest blacks, even better than plasmas, which used to hold the standard for the best black ratio. Dynamic color range with 1 million, I'm sorry, 100 million to 1 contrast ratio. And I was reading that the hertz ratio is off the charts, something like 100,000 hertz, which, if you don't know, plasma TVs actually had the highest hertz range. They were at 600. And what the hertz really means is that it's displaying that image that many times per second, basically, and you are seeing a much smoother image. So now, when you have race cars going by at fast speeds, it'll look that much clearer when you actually are viewing it at a fast rate. Um, Now, the downside, of course, with any technology is the price. The 55-inch Samsung and LG, TVs are priced at $9,000. That's United States dollars. So it's a little much right now for your average consumer. I don't recommend getting the OLED TVs yet, but look for the price drop in a few years. It's definitely, from what I've seen, one of the nicest TVs. They have this thing that they're able actually to do with OLED TVs that they aren't able to do with LCDs and plasma TVs. They have a concave screen design. They actually can bend the image without affecting it. Now, the reason why this is a good thing is because it reduces ambient light. Before, if you were viewing a TV and you had, your window during the daytime, light would be coming in and you would see a glare on it. Well, this kind of reduces that glare. It's a really nice feature. Plus, if you don't sit directly in front of your TV, you have a better viewing angle. So if you're sitting off-centered to the TV, you actually can view it. And from what I heard, this is a better design because you get kind of like this diamond shape kind of, when you look at a standard flat TV from the side. Now this actually bends it a little bit so you get a better image to it, like a better picture. Like the way it looks more natural now that you're sitting off-center from it.
Yeah, honestly, with the OLED TVs, because of the price and because of where they're at now with them, I could care less about them. I just want to see them coming out with like 4K or maybe even like a higher resolution TV to drive down 4K TVs and monitors. So those will actually be feasible for stuff. And instead of 4K being the ridiculous price stuff, just have this be it, and then let us have our 4K and be done with that stupid overpriced monitor and TV market with those.
Well, that's always the case. When plasmas and LCDs and all came out, they all had the same thing. They were all at crazy price tags, and in time that dropped down. So if you're looking for a new TV, I would say in about 4 years, OLED TVs are definitely going to be the way to go. Their color range is way higher than the plasmas and the LCDs, as well as the blacks. The actual black range, they said, is surpassed plasmas, which for the most part was holding the seat as the best one.
Yeah, definitely. And what was it, like the hertz seems to be higher?
Yeah, it's insanely higher. They were saying 100,000, which the highest I knew a TV was, which is actually the Samsung Plasma I have myself, which is 600 hertz, and that displays that many times a second. So if you're watching race cars, or you're watching some type of sports like MMA, the guys are throwing punches so fast it looks like a blur, and for the most part it is. But when you have a high hertz range like that, it actually smooths things over because it's displaying the image. And from what I'm told, even though the cameras aren't picking up at that type of range, the TVs adjust for this, and they actually kind of calculate what would be in between it. So it's kind of like faking it, but at the same time showing you, what is really there, because it's all in calculations. They're actually figuring out what would be in between the spaces, while at the same time filling it in for you, so that when you watch somebody, it's not as so much of a blur. And for people who play video games, this is definitely something they're going to want, because a lot of the times the fast-paced movement of video games is so blurry sometimes, because you're just moving across the screen, especially like in first-person shooters. If you go to spin around, now when you're going to spin around, it's not so much a blur anymore. You actually get more of a smoother moving around.
Yeah, people are going to be severely hampered by HDMI 1.4 in this refresh rate, because just any system's not going to push that amount. Like even PCs, you're not going to get those high rates, and there's going to be scaling issues with it. But I guess it will be good once every other bit of technology catches up to it, because they're not allowing, like when you're watching TV, it's 30 frames a second no matter what.
Yeah.
So a little bit of it is like, it might be like speculatory or a little ridiculous, I would say.
No, believe it or not, it does help. I know that they're shooting at 30 frames a second.
Like that frame rate though, like hertz.
Yeah, but it's the same as when you go to do like slow motion, and you see the difference between the crispness of slow motion in 60 frames a second as opposed to 30 frames a second. Well, the hertz is kind of doing the same thing. It helps with things that would normally look blurry on something that only goes at like 60 hertz or 120 hertz. The higher the hertz. Now, I'm sure 100,000 hertz is just way off the charts, so you're not going to really see much of a benefit from that. I mean, unless we're trying to watch a bullet move across the screen, it might look a little less blurry, but who's going to be able to catch that anyway? You're still dealing with the limitations of your eye.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned earlier, you said that there was an announcement for Fallout.
Well, there was some like rumor mill stuff surfacing around. I think IGN and a couple other sites were talking about it, and then they said that it was a hoax site. But Fallout 4 was trademarked in Europe, so
Really?
they might be announcing something down the line, or they might have started production on it. And I'm pretty excited for this as a New Vegas player. I didn't really play a whole lot of Fallout 3, but it was just before I was like really gaming on Xbox or PC at the time.
Yeah, I played it on 3. 3 was awesome. I liked 3, and I liked Fallout New Vegas
for like 4 or 5 hours, and I liked the game. It was entertaining to see how everything worked.
Yeah, Fallout's kind of like an RPG meets a first-person shooter. It has elements of each. It's a really fun game. It's based around a nuclear apocalypse, so if you haven't checked it out and you like games like that, give it a try. I think you'll enjoy it a lot. And to hear that Fallout 4 is coming out, I'm excited. a lot. It's one of my favorite games.
Yeah.
And in fact, one of the things that I am looking forward to, I hope they actually do it this time, is co-op.
Well, we
You know,
may be
it's
seeing Fallout 4 and then Fallout 4 MMO because they're doing they did Skyrim and they did Elder Scrolls Online, so we're going to see Fallout Online like a year or two later, I'm guessing.
that would be interesting. Yeah,
I would definitely play it.
yeah, I would give that a try. It sounds good. Now, for Tom Clancy fans, around the corner, sometime in 2014, from what I'm hearing, it's going to be actually towards the end of the year. I'm sorry, 2000. Wait, what year are we in? Okay, 2014. Sorry,
Coming up.
had a brain fart there. Forgot what year we were in. Too much of looking at camera names and everything else, and too many numbers. It's just getting ridiculous. Throwing me out of whack here.
Yeah.
But in late 2014, you'll actually get to play supposedly The Division, which The Division is based around actually another apocalypse. A lot of video games are having apocalypse. Seems like they know the world's going to end before we do.
Yeah.
But this is a third-person shooter where you can actually, that does have co-op, and you're going to get to go and do missions in, what was it, Manhattan's?
Yeah, Manhattan split down the line, 2 different divisions, as the title says. It's pretty much like red team, blue team, and they're fighting for control.
Yeah, it's based around a virus that basically wiped out most people, and you're part of some type of team that was meant to keep order and restore civilization back to its beginning, or I'm sorry, back to like where it was, and to help restore order, you're trying to go around and make a sorry, you're trying to find out like what is going on while at the same time dealing with the people that are looting and shooting, looting and shooting at the same time, and yeah, it seems pretty interesting. I like it. I saw that and I was wowed by it. So it looks awesome, and it's set I think sometime in the future. So there's a couple little futuristic gadgets they had. They had this grenade that the guy basically dropped on the ground. It rolled forward, jumped over something, and it exploded onto people. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very much like Ghost Recon Future Soldier and a better graphics engine and some more physics going on. And I really liked that game on online play. A lot of people didn't end up picking it up, but I think adding it into this more of a team scenario, more people will buy it and play it. And as long as you play, aka Ubisoft supports really good online servers for this, we'll be seeing a lot of people on that game.
Yeah, I can't wait to play it. It looks cool. It's like kind of like MMO meets third person shooter. So it looked a little bit like Gears of War kind of, but with more RPG aspects in it.
I would call it more Ghost Recon.
I never got to play Ghost Recon, but I'll take your word for it.
It's very much like Ghost Recon.
I mean, I played the older versions of Ghost Recon back when it first came out, but that was first person shooter. It was not third person.
Yeah.
Destiny, if you haven't heard about, is a new game that's coming out by Bungie, the makers of Halo. This looked really cool. It looked like something like Halo, but it had RPG aspects in it. I liked it. It looked like it had a lot of co-op involved too. I seen something like 4 or 8 people could play at once. That I think is coming out. Was it this June, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, it should be sometime this year. It's gonna have that element of people getting thrown into the world with you. Like 2 people can be playing. One person can be level 10. One person can be level 50. You can go and fight stuff together, kind of like an MMO, and then let's say random battles happen and they'll throw a ton of enemies, and there's too many enemies for you to take down, too high level. So let's say a party of 6 people are playing, they get initiated and launched into the game with you and take on that same like battle with you as another group coming in to assist instead of getting outnumbered and gunned down in 10 seconds by higher level mobs.
Cool. That'll be interesting to see. I look forward to that one too.
I wonder how the whole like matchmaking system of that getting tossed in is gonna work.
Might work like I was gonna say Grand Theft Auto 5 is a little different. Usually you get tossed into a match when you go to select something, but then once it starts up, no one else can join you.
Yeah. Well, and with both the Division and all these games coming out, with the PC games, they're going to have some crazy requirements for PC gamers, and a lot of people are going to have to update their systems just to be able to play stuff too.
Yeah, you were showing me a video of, what was it, Crysis 3 running in 4K.
Well,
and
yeah, to play Crysis 3, you're going to need a decent system as it is, especially a graphics card and CPU, but let's say they make Crysis 4, that's going to have some high-end specs, along with Watch Dogs has some ridiculous stuff, like, I think it was like 6 gigs of RAM, and like an i7 or a 80, I think it was like 8350 and stuff like that, all the higher-end CPUs, but that might have been some over-speculation, even by the company with the leaked specs. And
well, that's why Watch Dogs got pushed back, wasn't it?
well, they're probably just making sure it works, because it is a very high-end game.
Yeah, it's like as massive as Grand Theft Auto, but has even more involved, because I think every person has the ability to be hacked, and they have their own like little story in their house and stuff. So it seemed like it was basically an entire community built within a video game. So obviously there's going to be a lot of stuff involved, a lot of trial and error, making sure everything works in conjunction with each other.
There's a ton of interaction, like everything, like the overlays. It's just like a huge hacking arena for you. Just everything's hackable. You can interact with everything. There's random events that occur all over the place.
Yeah, now that Crysis 3 video you were showing me, that was a guy running two 780 Ti's in an SLI configuration.
I think he had 2 or 3 Titans in SLI.
2 or 3 Titans?
Yeah.
Wow, and it was still having a trouble running 4K, wasn't it?
Oh, it was either that or your computer was having trouble buffering it. Even
Probably.
if it's at 1080p.
Or more like YouTube's channel. They don't allow you to actually run anything like that. That's
Well,
like that high end.
You can watch 4K videos at 1080p. It just scales it down for you, and it's just really crisp. It just takes a while to buffer.
Yeah. Now, if you guys haven't seen 3D printing, this is something really cool. Basically, how your printer used to print stuff, well, this thing actually makes objects in real life. So if you have a part of like your bike maybe that broke, this thing can make pieces that you need for your bike. It's hard to get metal. Right now, most of it's using some type of resin, which is kind of like a plastic. But there are metal applications being made with 3D printing, and it's really neat. I mean, you're able to actually print out stuff that might have broke, or you want to design things. You could even design like a cup that you could drink out of, and this thing would print it, and it scans over each layer every time with laser precision and creates these objects and basically makes something out of nothing.
Yeah, there's a couple of YouTubers, one of them that I watch a lot, I think you watch him too, Barnacules Nerdgasm. He actually prints like a whole bunch of random things with it, from like little toys to actual printer parts to fix his own printer or upgrade your printer. So if something breaks, you can fix it without even having to order anything.
Yeah, I seen he was making something the one day. I think it was a little pumpkin. He was
around
testing. Yeah, around Halloween he was making these little pumpkin, and then he painted them and all. So it was really neat to see. I mean, you can tell that this is a technology that's going to take off in the future. Imagine implementing nanotechnology into it. Now you're getting really crazy. You might be able to make like the brand new cell phone, just print it. You don't even need to, you don't even need to have go out and buy a cell phone. You could actually print it through 3D printing. I don't know how well it would work, but the technology, or at least the possibility to do something like that, is there. But that's going to be way off. I know I'm getting a little ahead of myself.
3D printing's pretty slow right now. It can take like up to 18 hours to get something printed, or even longer, multiple sessions, and it just takes a while to get stuff done on the printers. But for $700, $800, you can make your own parts to stuff and fix things around your house if you have the know-how and the money to buy one of these printers.
Yeah, it's definitely something people that are into like arts and crafts would definitely enjoy right now. But in the future, yeah, you're going to be able to make like some crazy stuff with it. So It's kind of like having your own little manufacturing machine inside your house.
Exactly.
Granted, they're a little expensive, but like I said before, any new technology that comes out, you're going to have to pay for research and development.
I'm
So,
surprised, like the little, well, people that have the computer know-how and the money to buy one of these, if they were to like have a little store, they could make their own little toys and certain things, and or even like blank ones to be painted for arts and crafts. And that might be a good idea to start up a company. You just have 3D printers make all your stuff, because it's pretty cheap to get the materials if you get the right printer.
yeah. Now, this is something me and Ryan have been doing a lot of research. You guys probably don't know this, but me and him are starting our own indie filmmaking company, and we were looking at cameras. Now, these things weren't able to be done just about 20 years ago. You were not able to make your own independent filmmaking company. It just costed way too much. You know, it was hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions, to get started in this industry. Well out of the reach of just your average consumer. But now you can get cameras that cost as little as like $6,000, $5,000, and you have a true Hollywood, basically, or Hollywood looking type of film. It's unbelievable. You know, it can get a little expensive in the end, but the fact that you can now make Hollywood films on a low budget is pretty cool. And there's a lot of people out there, I'm sure, that have some great ideas. So the future of multimedia is really looking very bright, because now that people can do whatever they want without having to, actually make it in Hollywood, it's really cool. We've been looking at cameras ourselves. We've been racking our brains for days and weeks now, trying to look for a camera that we actually want. We've been putting a lot of research into it. Granted, we're looking for something that's a little more in the high end. We're actually trying to shoot something at 1080p, 60 frames a second, because we're going to be doing action shots, and action shots require a little higher rate of shutter speed, so that you can actually take more images per second, and it give you that nice smooth transition when you actually go to do things in slow-mo and all. You actually want to have images in between what your eye can't see, so that when something's slowed down, it doesn't look like a motion blur. Kind of like what we were talking about before with higher hertz ratios on your TV.
Yeah, there's so many cameras out there. I think we went through, like, I recently just picked up a T5i, and that was just for budget concerns. I did want the 70D for higher end. I would die for a 5D Mark III right now, but that's what I got to like record and film on now. But there's like the Blackmagic cameras, you get the Pocket Cinema, you get the 2K camera and the 4K camera with the production camera coming out. You got 5D Mark III, which is great, the C100, and then the 1DC or 1DX, which are both amazing cameras, and it's all about your budget, what you want. That's what we've been looking at. There's also Nikon, Sony. Sony came out with a ridiculous camcorder as of late, which we got to see how that ends up, because
yeah, the 4K Handycam,
it looks
that
good,
was
but
neat.
I think T was saying it just seems too good to be true, and the bit rate for the camera itself is too good to be true, because the cards are ridiculously expensive and they fill up really fast and they take a while to offload.
Yeah. Yeah, the ones that really stuck with me were the C100. That was a little more in our price range. That's still a couple $1,000 though. I think it was at $6,000 for that.
$6,000 with I think it's a 20 something to 105 lens, which is really nice, and it's a L lens for just $500 extra. You can't go wrong there.
Yeah, now granted, 6,000 is a lot, I know, but we're talking about filming Hollywood type movies at $6,000. Remarkable. But the most, I have to say, for a reasonable price range camera, still expensive. It's $13,000 for the 1DC, but this thing is phenomenal. I mean, it's got 4K 4K 60 frames a second, 1080p 60 frames a second.
The 4K is actually 24.
Oh, is it? I'm sorry. Sorry about that.
It shoots JPEG format, so it's a little higher bit rate, lower frame rate.
we've been looking at so many cameras. I get a lot of them confused, even the names confused sometimes. It's we just looked at so much. It's a lot of investigating, but it's well worth it. The time that you're going to spend to look into what kind of camera you're going to get, because it's going to make it look that much better. But yeah, I think for a $13,000 camera though, that thing was well worth it. It's just I don't know if we're going to be able to get something like that. We'll see. We actually have an Indiegogo we're setting up pretty soon. It's been taking a little time. We've been actually putting some effort into it. So hopefully, crossing our fingers, maybe we'll get some donations that will be able to allow us to get something like that. But if not, we'll at least get something like a C100, and look forward to some of the stuff that we're going to be shooting within the next year. It's going to take us a little while because we got something coming up during the summer. I'm not going to say what it is. It's a secret.
Yeah, we got a couple projects in the works that kind of will draw out for the next couple of years, but then we got our little side production stuff that we'll be doing also, and you guys might get a sneak peek at that stuff before you get a sneak peek at our actual short films or feature-length films.
Yeah, I think we might give away a little screenshot after we shoot it during the summertime, but I'm not promising anything.
Yeah, there'll be a little nice sneak peek.
Now, I seen this a little while ago. There was a temple that they had found underneath the foothill in the Alps in northern Italy. This thing is unbelievable. I mean, it's like the 16th chapel times 10 underneath the foothills of the Alps. And police actually, believe it or not, when they first found out about it, they thought that they were constructing some type of like fort or some type of military base or something. They were really skeptical about like what was going on. They wanted to, or I'm sorry, they were really cautious about what was going on because they noticed that all these trucks were taking dirt out of this house. It was actually built underneath the house, and these guys were carving out basically the side of the mountain and making these huge elaborate temples. They look amazing. I mean, you should see some of the pictures of these things. We'll actually have some of them up for the podcast. You get the chance to see these things. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, when you showed me the pictures, I thought that they were just some, random troll thing, because they were just like, why would somebody build this? Somebody went into 3ds Max or Maya and was like, oh, I'm just gonna make some really shiny walls and Photoshop some people into it. It's gonna be awesome. People are gonna believe this.
I think it started out as like one or two people were working on it, and before you knew it, they had several other artists coming in. I mean, they have mosaic pictures, they have paintings, they have stained glass windows and all. It is really cool.
Yeah. It's it is pretty amazing, as they call it. What is it? The Amazing Temple.
Yeah, Amazing Temple. It really was.
Also, did you see anything on the Mac Pro? I know it's coming out sometime in December, and I was looking into it for a while, but I've just found the price tag to be a little ridiculous for what it is. I mean, like $3,000 and you get like 12 gigs of RAM, $4,000 you get 16, and then you can upgrade from there, and it probably goes up to like $20,000 for like a couple terabytes of storage, and then 2 graphics cards that are 6 gigs each, and 2 8 cores or a single 8 core, and you're looking at like $20,000 for a Darth Vader trash can.
Yeah, Macs have always been expensive. Granted, they do have quality. They used to have some of the best screens in the color range on PCs, and I'm pretty sure they actually still do. It's just, from what I heard, they're really expensive for what you're getting. I don't know if they're doing that because there's some unknown, but yeah, the price range seems way out of whack for what they were offering you.
I mean, it is a cool design and everything, but it just seems like it's gonna, when you're running it at load, it's gonna take off from your desk because it's got that fan in it. It's gonna float away.
I'm sure that's why they designed it like that, probably for better airflow.
Yeah.
Now, the other day we actually saw this video. We're gonna put it up on the podcast. You can check it out. It's this guy that looked like the police were called on him, and when the police came, there was some type of altercation between, I guess, him and his wife or him and his girlfriend, and the police officer was telling him to get down and to cooperate with them, and he wasn't listening. So the officer, of course, pulled out his taser gun, hit him with the taser, and they started to shock him, and he didn't even flinch an inch. I mean, this guy was just standing there, and he pointed at his wife, and he was talking about how he was going to get her. It was actually hilarious. It's one of the funniest things I've seen recently. Oh, it sounds like Ryan went out for a second. What are you doing? Yeah, I was. You just left. Oh, man, you're not cool if you don't pee your pants. Shit, Billy Madison told you about that. Speaking of which, I told Barnacles about that when he was going online as tech tips the other day. He said he was hoping he wasn't going to pee his pants, and I told him, you ain't cool unless you pee your pants. He actually responded to it. He laughed about that. He liked it. Said he loved the movie. Yeah, Billy Madison. It's one of my favorite movies, too. Well, that's it for the podcast, guys. If you like the video, like it, and please, as always, subscribe to us. You can look forward to podcasts. Sorry we didn't get one out. We actually went through changing computers recently. We got a new computer, and we had to do a whole bunch of updates and stuff. So we're actually going to be putting out 2 a week, at least. Try to get 2 a week out, unless we run into some type of big project. We might have to cut it down when we're filming. But yeah, look forward to another video in a few days, and we'll see you around.